Greetings.
The 2-hour-long podcast began with a discussion of Sanction, Lyndon McLeod's trilogy of dystopian, violence-filled fiction, in which he names several of the people he targeted and killed last month.
Cognitively, we are set up for stories.
But the Sanction books were only part of the discussion.
Human beings need violence.
Among other things, the shooter also explained his theory that people need to be able to vent their anger in what he described as a low-level, non-lethal manner. The podcast was called The Beauty of Bar Fights.
I think that's the benefit for the bystander of releasing tension in a normal, fluid, linear way, is that you don't end up with a mass murder. You don't end up with what do they call mass shootings.
He used to describe himself as evil.
Helen Zuman hosted the podcast. She and the shooter met online in 2008, sharing their experiences in the self-described neo-hippie cult that they both had joined.
I think I would have described him as a volatile person.
Zuman says she was not surprised during the podcast by the shooter's thoughts about violence.
He talked a lot about violence in that way, like on a macro scale, like the role of violence in human cultures and, its role throughout history.
He just kept going on and on.
Psychologist John Nicoletti says the shooter sounded to him like a controlling narcissist who enjoyed what Nicoletti calls the thrill of the thought.
And the thrill of the thought comes from talking about that, well, here's what I'm going to do, here's what happens, or here's what people do when they're angry. So they're getting off on what's going on inside their head.
Nicoletti said if he had been asked to do a threat assessment at the time based on the podcast, he would not have thought the shooter posed any kind of risk. But Nicoletti added that the shooter's books, in which he names names, places, and methods, would have been a real concern. Denver police have said they did not have sufficient evidence to file criminal charges or a legal basis for monitoring the shooter at the time. Kim and Tom.
Matt, we often do this after crimes of this magnitude where we go back and try to see where the dots were missed that weren't connected. This becomes another chain for that.
Indeed, there were a lot of clues in retrospect, Tom, but as you said, unfortunately and tragically, nobody could connect them at the time.
All right, Matt, thanks.